A house arrest or back to jail? That is the Paris Hilton question of the night. Let's bring in our legal panel. In Washington, criminal defense attorneys Bernie Grimm and Ted Williams. In New York, criminal defense attorney Jeff Brown. Ted, do you have any thoughts on this?
My blood is boiling. Let me just say something. I don't blame Paris Hilton for wanting to get out of jail. It's the system that has a black mark here. It's this sheriff. I believe Sheriff Baca should be either held in contempt of court or he should be recalled and fired from his job. How dare him make the decision? I just heard Harvey Levin says that he can make this decision. Well, why don't they let Scott Peterson, who killed his wife, out of jail if the sheriff can make a decision like this? This is an outrage. This is terrible. This is a terrible black mark on the system. And I predict tomorrow morning that this judge will send Paris Hilton back to jail or a medical facility. To say that she can't get treatment in a medical facility, well, let's just say this. Everybody out there, just go crazy, and the sheriff is going to release you. It shouldn't happen. It's unfair.
Jeff Brown, your turn.
Well, I mean, it's real easy for Ted to say that, but Ted doesn't know the facts in this case, neither do I, neither does anybody else. Ted, just 1 second, let me get a word in here. First of all, it is not uncommon for this to happen. I know in Florida, and I know in a lot of other states, the jails do have the ability and the law behind them that lets them take a jail sentence and at some portion commute that to home detention. So that's not uncommon. It does happen. Now, the question here is whether it should have happened in this case, and you know, we don't know the answers to this yet. We do know that the sheriff's office has said that they consulted with the judge in all the parties. So
they
if
did not consult with the judge.
that's what they have said, Ted. So let's find out if that's true, and then we'll take it from there. They've said that there are undisclosed medical conditions. I don't know what those are. Hopefully they'll have a valid reason for that. But before we get on the bully pulpit like Ted and just go crazy and say this is all some horrible decision that the sheriff has made, let's wait and see. I can't imagine any sheriff is going to put his head on the chopping block knowing that people like Ted are going to go crazy over this unless he has a valid reason. So I'm going to wait and find out what that reason is, because he knows that people like Ted are going to come out here and say that he should lose his job. I'm sure he has a valid reason for it. I just say we wait and not pass judgment this quickly.
Bernie, I think the Los Angeles city attorney might feel a little bit like Ted. He wrote a letter, a release actually, in which he said that the house arrest, he said the explanation given by the sheriff's department was puzzling. That's his word. And he says the Los Angeles County Jail medical facilities are well equipped to deal with medical situations involving inmates. Okay? It's your turn, Bernie.
Yeah, thanks. I'm sorry for turning away, but I want to get the judge's order, which is the law. This is his order, the judgment of commitment. No work release, no early release, no electronic monitoring, no weekends. It's signed by Judge Shower. That's it. No sheriff can change it. It's like Ted says, Scott Peterson got the death penalty. What happens if the warden says, you know what, I think that's unfair. Let me change it to a 10-year sentence. It's a prison. Every prison has a medical facility. I have clients that are diabetic, schizophrenic, bipolar in prison. Can they get out? Oh, my gosh, I don't have my Zoloft. I don't have my Prozac. Let me get out. It's completely inane. Now, let me give a hard footnote here to my brother, Jeff Brown. We don't know the facts. Maybe there's some medication that she needs. If she needs it, go and get it, bring it to the prison, finish your sentence. There's a lot of people in this country, mostly clients of mine, people of color, who believe there's a thing called white justice. And when things like this happen, it makes me believe it's not a myth, that it's a fact. This is disgusting and it's offensive.
You know, I don't have any problem with Paris Hilton doing everything she can lawfully to trying to get out. I don't blame her at all. It's the sheriff that, you know, Jeff, I can't get over the fact that in Florida, a sheriff can make a decision to reduce a sentence or change it. Bernie, let me just back up. Bernie, in the District of Columbia, isn't it the judge who does the sentencing and any of the amendments, or have things changed?
In federal court, from here to California and back, it's the judge. No one can change it. No one has the authority or jurisdiction to change it, period.
I just had a case, Ted, I just had a case 2 years ago. In the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. I was before Judge Richard Rangel in the Superior Court yesterday. He cannot send somebody over to the D.C. jail, and the D.C. jail all of a sudden modify his order. It doesn't happen.
I just had a case where a person was sentenced to 2 years. And it turns out that when we found out about it, they were going to release it on home detention, and it was a decision made by the jail. I called up the state attorney to say, hey, listen, I know you wanted jail, but this is the jail's decision. And the state attorney says, well, it's the jail's decision. They can do that. This stuff happens. Not a lot, but it does happen. And I don't know why you guys are saying it doesn't. You know it does.
And of course, but let me throw this back at you, Ted. As an aside, Scooter Libby is going to be sentenced by Judge Walton, or not sentenced, he's been sentenced by Judge Walton, but the question of whether he's going to be released pending appeal will be decided in about a week or two. If you were Judge Walton, Ted, would you release him pending appeal?
Well, first of all, I think Judge Walton is a brilliant jurist, and if I was Judge Walton, I would look at all of the facts and wait at opportunities to see if he could prevail on appeal. If I didn't see anything where he could prevail on appeal, I would either step him back or I would have him to go home, get his toothbrush, and report.
Jeff, are there two justice, white justice and black justice in this country?
That's a tough question. Yeah, I do think so. When I look at the federal sentencing guidelines and I see the disparity between powder and cocaine, it's 101, the difference. It's hard to say there isn't. It really is. And I agree completely with Bernie. Bernie's been in the trenches like I have trying some of these cases, and it's kind of hard to say that there isn't. But I don't think that's this case.
And Ted has, a lot of people have been in the trenches, and these are actually sort of good issues, so the Americans can take a look at our system and see whether they agree or not agree with the way it is executed. Anyway, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Los Angeles time, we'll find out what's going to happen. And thank you, gentlemen.